I'm just gonna wait a second to make sure you guys can see it. Can one of you guys actually confirm that you can see my screen?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, thanks. All right, I'm just gonna make it bigger and we're good to go. So, and I have my notes, so I'm prepared because I'm scatterbrained and chatty, which some people don't like, but that's okay. We don't like them either. Okay, so the point of this is to kind of get all of you guys comfortable with being able to show up in your DMs on Instagram and be able to pitch your services or your products. Because a lot of people get scared. They freeze up because, you know, the main reason why sales is so scary, I think, is because we've all had a time or two where someone tried to sell to us and we didn't want it. We weren't qualified for it, and they were pushy and they made us uncomfortable. And so we hold this belief that sales are slimy and sleazy because of a couple people that we've had an experience with that made us feel like shit, right? Like, get away from me. If you sell to me in my DMs, I block you instantly. So I apologize in advance, but don't do that to me. I don't like it. So that's kind of why we feel like sales are sleazy. They're not. Technically, we're serving, we're not selling. And, you know, we have a solution to a problem that other people have, okay? So we're actually doing someone a disservice by not selling our offers because they don't know how easy they could solve their problem, right? So if we're not selling, they're not getting valuable information that they could use to change their life and make their life better, right? So when you switch your mindset around that and see it as serving, not selling, it gives you a little bit of a confidence boost. It takes the edge off. Another thing that I want to chat about is, you know, along with the it's not selling, it's serving. It's like an energetic exchange. Everything's energy, right? So money is just energy, and it's just a repayment or a thank you for your service. So it goes along with if you went to this fancy restaurant and the server went above and beyond, or you had like a bartender that was like your best friend and just kept the drinks coming, you would want to tip them, right? You would want to repay them for their beautiful service, right? So it's a thank you. If you offer them a tip and they're like, no, it's fine, keep it, you don't feel good, right? It makes you feel good to give someone money for their service. It's a repayment. You know, can you guys agree with that? Be like, yeah, if you are feeling what I'm saying or picking up what I'm throwing down.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move into how we can make sales more comfortable for us and for the other party. Okay, there's a right way to sell and there is a wrong way to sell. So where's my little, oh, I gotta move this, hold on a second. There we go. I'm just gonna make this a little bit smaller. Okay, you guys can still see me, we're good. So this is the Soullfully Selling Roadmap, and there is a strategic plan you have to follow when you're selling if you want the end result to be them signing up and everyone being happy and comfortable, right? Because as soon as you get off the roadmap, sales resistance happens. And that's when you lose the rapport that you work so hard to build, and they get uncomfortable, you get uncomfortable, and the vibe just gets thrown off. So this is why I created this little system and roadmap, is to keep you going from point A to point B at a very natural way so that you get to the point that you want to get to, which is selling your offer or service, without them getting scared, getting put off, or feeling like you're being sleazy and salesy. I don't like not being able to see you guys, but I'm just going to trust that you're there because right now it seems like I'm talking to myself. So let's just give you an introduction of what the roadmap looks like. So here's the starting point. There's two different ways that you can start selling to someone in your DMs. Now today we're specifically just talking about the followers that we already have. We're not talking about reaching out to completely cold leads, because the easiest way for someone who doesn't know how to sell to actually get buyers is by starting with people they already have a know, like, trust with. Now, anybody who sells before or has a history of selling knows that the know, like, trust is everything. People don't buy from people they don't know, they don't like, or they don't trust them, right? That's just a given. I don't think anyone likes or trusts car salesmen. Just saying. It's not the type of sales you want to do. So today we're specifically just starting as a beginner level, and so we're going to talk about how you can outreach to some of your current followers and get them to buy into what you're offering, whether that be a product or a service. And I have a little bit of variations for either one. So the first step is the invitation and the outreach. And we're going to digest each step a little bit more in the following slides, but right now we're just introducing you to it. So the invitation or the outreach. So these are the two different ways. And the second part of the ladder is building rapport. This is the make it or break it. I think this statistic is actually you only have 10 seconds before the human mind, the other party that you're talking to, will rip apart everything about you and put it back together and create a judgment of who you are and what you're about. So you have to make those 10 seconds be everything. The human mind is quick. They either tell me if, like, you've had a time where you met someone and you, like, shook their hand and you're immediately like, ooh, I don't like you. I don't care for you. I don't want anything to do with you. We're very fast at determining judgment. So 10 seconds or less to make a really good first impression. And then you have to kind of use the next few messages as building rapport, which we'll talk about in a minute. So the next step is authority. You always want to have authority. You want to lead the conversation and get it to a certain point. This isn't just a random conversation for shits and giggles, right? We have an end point, and that is for them to sign up for their service or buy a product. So if you have authority and you are the alpha in the conversation, you'll be leading the conversation without the other person even knowing anything's going on. The next part is the struggle or problem, because struggle and problem is everything in sales. You cannot sell something to someone who doesn't want, need, desire. Like, there's something that they are lacking in their life and they need to buy something, right? I have a problem right now. I have a notebook. I can't write any notes down. If you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, you'll see him being like, supply and demand, you need a pen. That's how you sell a pen. You need it, right? So you got to find the need that they have, the struggle, the problem, and start probing them about that and break it down a little bit more so that you can identify whether or not they're a qualified person for your offer. Now, the next part is the solution. So after you've determined the struggle, you're going to show them what the solution is. And you're going to start talking about their beautiful life, of how easy it could be if they had the right solution to their problem. So moving along to the offer, after you've already touched on how easy it could be to fix the problem, only then can you offer what you're going to offer them. So this could be a high ticket service, so you would want to get them on a sales call, or it can be a one-off easy buy product, and so you would want to provide them the link to it or information or something like that, which we'll get into in detail in the next slides. So after the offer, they'll either buy in or they won't. So that brings us to the next part, the follow-up. So we need to follow up with them to make sure that they followed your instructions to sign up for whatever it was that they were going to sign up for. Or if they completely ghosted you, you want to reconnect with them to try to rebuild rapport and get them on board. If all else fails and they're still not interested, there's always the last step, which is nurture. If they don't buy today, doesn't mean that they're not going to buy from you down the road. So all you need to do, you already know that they have the problem. You just need to make sure that they know you still exist, stay in contact with them, make sure that you're in their radar, and they'll come to you when they're ready. Make sense? I can't see you guys. I'm going to trust. I'm just going to bring this up again. Makes sense? Are we good to go on and talk about all these different pieces of the roadmap? Okay. If you guys have questions anytime along this, unmute yourself and ask, okay? I don't want to just be sitting here telling at you. I want you guys to be involved if you have questions, okay? That's the best way to learn, is just to speak up. So let's move on to the next part here. So let's just move this out of the way. We have the invitation. So this is when someone is replying to your story. So let's say you put a quote on and they give you the heart eyes or something. Someone initiating the conversation themselves. So they're going to either hop into your DMs by replying to a story. They could comment on a post and you could comment back. You know, when you put a poll in your story and they say yes or no. So this isn't even, they're not even in your DMs yet. This is just in the poll and they've slid the like button, and you know how you can, you can see who used your poll and left like a comment or whatever. You can go in there and message them from there. There's actually, when you go into view who engaged with your poll, you can hit the message button beside their, not emoji, but their profile photo. So the invitation is they're giving you the invitation to talk to them because they reached out first. Make sense? The outreach is when you're cold messaging a follower from out of nowhere. There's a typo, but you all know I'm queen of typos, so that's no surprise at this point. A previous conversation has never been started. So you're starting from nowhere. Like, this is the very beginning. There are followers, so they might know who you are. They might not know who you are. Just because someone clicks a follow button doesn't mean that you're actually in their radar, because we all know that the algorithm on Instagram picks and chooses who the person sees. So they might have followed you months ago and they forgot about you, right? So at this point, they're completely cold. So let's move on to the next part. So after you either reach out to them or, oh, actually, hold on a second. Got to go back. So the invitation, what you would say to reach out to them would be, hey, I saw that you commented on my poll about the this and that, and you would just lean into the conversation like that. Be like, thank you so much for the feedback. How are you? And you're just starting a conversation. That's it. We're not selling anything. We don't even know if they want to buy anything. So all we're doing is just asking how they are. Same goes for the outreach. Now, if you're messaging a follower who's cold and you've never talked to them before, you might want to say something like, hey, I noticed you in my followers. I don't know how you snuck in. Normally I see people right away. How are you? Something along those lines, just to break the ice, right? And so, yeah, you want to say, hey, I noticed you were in my followers, and then start a conversation. Okay, so now we're in the build report stage. We've already opened up the conversation. Now what the hell are we going to say? Always chat about them first. If you start talking about you and your offers, you come off as needy, arrogant, pushy, sleazy, all the things that you don't want, right? It's always like when you're talking to people and you feel like they don't even care what you're saying and that they're only listening so that they can reply about themselves. You know, those annoying people. You do not want to come off like that. So always chat about them first. Ask them questions. Where are they from? What do they like to do? What are their hobbies? They have children. How old are the children? Anything you want, doesn't matter. Find a connection between you and them. Look at their profile. See if you can find something. I go after people who have cats a lot. I'll be like, oh my God, I love cats so much. What's his name? That's my big conversation starter. This stage is about connecting and building a relationship. You always want to start out with getting to know your follower. You cannot sell to someone you don't know. It does not work. Ask questions about their life. This is really, really important, that you never sell to someone who you haven't pre-qualified yet, because that's when the pushiness, like the vibe of being a sleazy salesperson, comes off. And they can sense that, because people are very intuitive with vibes, and they'll get resistance, sales resistance, or any kind of resistance, and they'll all of a sudden not like you, and they'll want to leave the conversation, and they'll start to shut you down. If you ever talk about selling before you go through all the other steps on the roadmap, right? Follow the roadmap and it will get you there. It definitely takes more time to do all of these steps, but the quality or the amount of sales you get is going to be higher based off of you sticking to this model. Okay, so building rapport. We're talking to them. We're doing chit chat. We're talking about the weather, whatever you got to do to kind of make them feel comfortable and like friendly with them. So the next part is authority. Now you don't want to be too friendly because there is a point to the conversation. You're not just chit chatting. You want to get them to buy something that you have. So it's important that you lead the conversation by ending all of your messages with a question. So if they respond to your question and they give you an answer, you want to also, make them feel heard by addressing what they said, right? So that they know that you're paying attention and you are actually caring about them. Then you redirect and lead the conversation because you are the alpha by asking a question aligned to the end goal that you're trying to get to. We have a very specific outcome we're trying to get. And so we keep leading the conversation. If you don't ask a question at the end, they're going to ask a question and they're going to lead the conversation and you're just going to get all spider webby. Anybody who knows me knows that I get off track really easily. Start talking about everything else other than what I'm supposed to be talking about. So if you're talking to someone who's chatty, you kind of have to lead the conversation and make sure that you're getting the information from them that you need in order to pre-qualify them for the sale. Make sense? Does anybody have any questions about this? No? Okay. On to the next part. So now that we've made a really good connection, they have rapport, they're vibing with us, they're comfortable. You're getting them to where, we're going to start getting into the nitty gritty. So now we're going to shift the tone of the conversation and we're going to start probing them to see what kind of struggles they might have. Now this looks different for everyone, so I can't really tell you exactly what to say, but you need to pre-think and maybe sit down and make a skeleton for your messaging system that you can have to use as a guide so you're never just sitting there wondering what to say, and tune it to your niche and your ideal client. And so the next thing that you need to do before you can actually sell or do any of that stuff is there needs to be a problem or a struggle and a need that your client has. So this goes back to my Wolf of Wall Street thing when he's trying to sell a pen, and he can't write anything down because he doesn't have a pen. Supply and demand, right? He had a problem, there's the solution, buy the pen. So what you want to do is you want to probe them and I wanted to say niche it down, but when I mean chunk it down. So they might give you a very general problem. So an example would be, I can't find any clients. Or no, sorry. A general problem might be, I'm not making any money. Okay, that's a huge problem, but what is the cause of the problem? Do they not care? Have they not even been trying? Or have they been trying and they can't do it, right? So in that situation, I would start to chunk it down to get to the underlying cause of the problem, because there's usually a problem, but then there's all these issues underneath that are causing the problem or the need, right? So you want to start chunking it down and being like, oh, so why do you think you're not finding any clients? And they'll say, well, I don't know where to look. Okay, well, have you been researching where to look? Like, where are you getting your information from? Start hashing it down and seeing exactly why they're having the struggle. And the end point of this is you want to try to get them to verbally admit there is a struggle by asking these questions. So they need to admit to you that there is a struggle and why there's a struggle. So an example of one of my clients would be, I'm not making money because I don't know how to find any leads. And, the underlying issue of that struggle is I don't have the knowledge that I need and I don't know where to find it. I don't know how to do it. So right then and there, guess what? I have the solution to that problem, and they've already openly admitted to me that they don't know how to do it on their own. So there's my door opener for me to switch it now into the offer. Does anybody have any questions? No? So I just want to stress, never sell a solution to a person you haven't identified that they have a problem that you can solve. So if you get off the roadmap, there's going to be sales resistance and you'll lose them, and then you'll have to overcome that objection. So as long as you follow the the roadmap and you hit all of the target areas, there shouldn't be much reason for an objection when you actually give them the offer. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. After they've admitted the struggle, you want to introduce the solution that you have to it. So whatever product or service that you're offering, but you don't want to go into massive detail because you'll overwhelm them and you'll scare them off. It's very like you're talking to a 5-year-old, so dumb it down is what I usually say. Paint them a clear picture of what their life would look like after they solve the problem. So you're going to be like, oh, have you ever thought about, getting help for this and making your life easier and getting to your goal quicker? And you want to start using the words that are going to encourage them to want to buy the offer. Another good thing is by actually saying, you kind of want to solve this problem because it's taking all of your time, and then you don't have any time for your friends and family, and it's, you don't have any money, so it's causing fights with your husband because you're stressed and complaining about money all the time. Like, imagine if you had this problem solved and you could work from Hawaii and, all the stress will be off your shoulders and you can buy whatever you want. You want to touch on the good things that you are going to give to them by giving them the solution to their problem. Does that make sense? Everybody good? Okay. Another tactic you want to use is you want to really touch on their emotional words. So you want to salt the wound and then also use the good words to draw them in and make them and make them want to buy what you're offering, okay? So you want to be brief and vague so that you don't overwhelm them. Now is not the time for details. They can get more details. Right now, we're just feeling them out and we're saying, hey, have you ever thought about that solution? Okay, you're just touching on it. You're not giving them a whole lot of information yet. You're just seeing if they would like to have more information. Because if you automatically start selling to someone and pushing all this information on them and they don't want it, it's going to be uncomfortable, right? This is what we're trying to avoid because it gives the sales resistance. And even though the solution you have is going to help them, they're not going to feel that way. They're just going to see it as pushy and uncomfortable. So you're going to start to hint around to the solution and feel them out and see if they're going to be interested in what you have to offer. Once you feel like it's safe to move forward and you think, this person's probably going to want to pick up what I'm going to offer them, you have two options. You can offer them the solution and give them the link. If they seem interested, make it official. So if it's a product that you're selling, give them the link so that they can go and buy it, okay? Now, if you can't see them anymore, that's okay. My internet connection keeps going in and out. Now, the second solution is if you're doing a high ticket sale, they're going to have a lot more resistance to buying something. So you want to get them on a call. So this will be the point that you initiate the sales call for more information and you get them on the call and you kind of walk them through the buying process. And that's a whole other conversation that will take hours. But this would be when you would introduce the sales call, is after you've pre-qualified them and kind of hinted around with your solution and, intuitively felt like they would be interested. You offer it to them so that they'll buy it, give them the link, make it easy, or you set up a sales call so that you can have a higher level sales conversation with them. So now we're at the follow-up, okay? So 2 things could have happened. They could have jumped on it, scheduled a call, or bought your product already, okay? If they didn't, you want to wait a little bit. And depending on what you're doing, if they were busy and the situations are all different, you can either follow up in an hour to see, hey, did you schedule that call yet? Or did you go check out the link? Follow up with them and see where they are. Or if they ghosted you and they didn't respond, you can wait 1 to 2 days, follow up then and be like, hey, just wondering if you booked that call. My calendar is filling up. I want to make sure that you get your time slot booked in. Or you can say, hey, the product's almost sold out, or whatever you want to do just to kind of get them. It could have slipped their mind. We have the attention span of ants. People forget things very easily, right? So we don't want to just assume they don't want it, because the reality is you can't assume anything. They could have been ready to go buy it, and then their kids spilt something and they had to run away, put their phone down, walked away, and completely forgot about you, right? How many times has that happened to you, right? Happens to me all the time. My friends will text me, I'll read the text, put the phone down, and then a week later I respond to their text. It's totally normal. So never assume they don't want it. Just follow up, reach back out to them. Now, if a client gets annoyed with you and stops responding altogether to your messages, again, don't assume that you pissed them off and they don't want anything to do with you. They could have forgot, they could have got sidetracked. Humans are like that. So in another 5 to 7 days, if your lead went cold, what you can do is go to their profile, check to see if they posted a story, see if they've been active, right? So if they haven't been active, they could have been on vacation. That could be why they didn't respond. If they have been active, comment on one of their photos, or go straight to their stories and comment on one of their stories to get them in the DM again, get them back into the DM so that you can start up a conversation. At that point, if they come in and respond to your response, you can reinitiate the conversation and be like, how was your week going? And kind of start building rapport and lead them into booking a sales call again or buying your thing. Make sense? Does anybody have any questions so far up until now? The thumbs up. Okay, so let's chat about what happens next. So let's say we asked them. They didn't want to buy. They either ghosted you or openly said, you know, it's not the right time. I'm not interested. You don't want to just forget about them. You want to continue to nurture your audience. So if the client does not end up buying into your offer, it's okay. It's fine. Continue to keep them warm and nurture the connection you just made. They might change their mind. So just because they don't want to buy right now doesn't mean a week from now they're not going to reach back out to you and be like, hey, you know, I thought I could do it on my own. Your offer sounds great. Let's do it. Because that happens all the time. People are hesitant because they think they can DIY something or figure it out, because the truth is millions of other people have the same solution to the problem that they have as you do, right? So they can get it anywhere. Or people think that they can figure it out themselves because there's so much information online now. You can just watch 1,000 YouTube videos and figure it out. But, you know, and when people start off and they're like, oh, I'm going to DIY it, they don't realize how much time and energy actually goes into that. So sometimes they'll be like, you know what? It's a lot easier just to pay this person to help me learn it, right? So yeah, that's the end of the presentation. I'm so happy that you guys came. Here's my like, thanks for coming slide. Again, if anybody has any questions, please do so now. Does anybody have anything specifically that they've struggled with in the DMs? No one?
I haven't even attempted any of this to like have stuff I've struggled with yet.
We're not quite there yet with you. We're still doing your,
no.
Yeah. So that's totally cool. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave, like when I post the replay, go ahead and put questions in there, or yeah, just reach out and let me know if you're having any problems, and I can definitely do what I can to help you. But yeah, that's everything. Hopefully that's enough to get you guys a little bit comfortable reaching out and having the conversations, to have a guide to go through. And what I recommend is taking the roadmap that I have and tweaking it to match your niche or what you're selling. Does that make sense? So you're going to have to pre-think of all the comments you could possibly use for every stage of the roadmap. That's what I did. A couple of you guys have that copy because you're in the mentorship. But yeah, so there would be sample questions that you would give yourself as a starting point to guide you through so that you don't end up getting stuck. Because a lot of people just don't even try selling in the DMs because they don't know what to say. So if you can at least take that stress off of your shoulders, then I didn't realize that my video isn't on here.